Hi, my name is Lynn Masako Cheng, and welcome to Alumni Friday. Today I'm here with
Tony Macht, performance major, class of 2017.
and we are at the historic Lyceum Theatre at Ohmary on Broadway. Come along with us to see his dressing room. Going up.
See, Broadway's not all glamorous, you know? You
I need a
gotta walk up. How many plays?
Oh,
2.
God.
Count them.
This is quite
Hey, I'm Tony Macht. This is my dressing room. Welcome to Backstage at Ohmary. Come on in. Hi, I'm Tony Macht. I'm in Ohmary on Broadway, and I'm a proud graduate of Fordham University.
So 7 years out,
Uh-huh.
what was your post-grad journey like from Fordham to Broadway?
I mean, it was a lot of plays in and around New York City, doing like incredibly small theaters, like, you know, the Tank and like ART, Alchemical, like doing these like 99-seat houses of all sorts of strange work with a lot of people from Fordham, actually, like people I collaborated with still, and then you just audition for what's in front of you, and if you get really lucky, you get really lucky, basically. Like, the path, as everyone probably says, is incredibly non-linear. So you're doing a job and you think that that's gonna lead to something else, and it actually doesn't. It leads to this completely other thing, or, you know, you book a TV job and that sustains you for a little bit, and then you just keep working, basically, but yeah.
We interviewed your former co-star from A Winter's Tale, directed by Professor George Drance.
Yeah.
And Ashley Everhart said that you guys learned a lot about comedy through that show. So how have your comedy skills developed from Fordham to your role now in Ohmary?
That was, honestly, Winter's Tale at Fordham main stage, represent, was a huge moment for me, especially with, as I guess Ashley said, like, comedic skills. Drance really taught us so much about like clown and clown history, and taking Shakespeare's language that is obviously antiquated and hard to make funny sometimes, and like finding the funny in that, and finding the relationship between, I played the older shepherd and Ashley played the character actually named Clown, but they're both clowns, and finding that like sort of father-son relationship with them was so fun. Almost like adversarial relationship with the audience when you're doing clown or comedy. So it's like you know you have the audience there, so you are gonna hold them captive as long as it takes to get your laugh, or as long as it takes to make your point in that scene. I'm not saying this quite right, but I guess also what Drance really taught a lot was the relationship between you as a clown and the audience. So they are literally part of the scene at that point.
So, dealing with a historical play that also deals with comedy, are there any acting techniques that you learned from Fordham that you also employ in your role now?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like, I think the way to make this play the funniest, or at least in the 4 parts that aren't Cole's track, which is sort of operates on its own in its own language, is to take them as seriously as possible. So I play my part as Mary's husband's assistant, so Lincoln's assistant, as seriously as possible. So I try and go into it as if I'm in like an HBO mini-series about Abraham Lincoln, not in a comedy, because then that's actually what makes it funny. Whereas then like Cole gets to sort of be a like Looney Tunes character around everyone else, trying to keep it serious and tight and decorum and the rules and the manners of the day and all that. So I think that's actually where the funny comes from. So.
And how did you land this role as Mary's husband's assistant?
I auditioned. I mean, it's lucky. And then I guess well, it's sort of a spoiler, but I play piano in the show, and so it's a fairly high degree of difficulty. So that is like one of those things where just it shrinks the pool of people who were auditioning so much smaller. So instead of 1,000 people auditioning, I don't know, maybe one of like 100 or something. So then if you get lucky and you book it, you know that contributed. So that was super lucky. And then, you know, it's supposed to be like 6 weeks off Broadway, or 8 weeks maybe off Broadway, and then because how good of a writer Cole is and how, you know, how well directed Sam did, how good of a job directing the play as Sam did, and, you know, and not to pat ourselves on our own back, but the cast, like, we just kept getting extended and got to transfer, and here we are. So it was just like one of those insane things where everything came together in like the most amazing, beautiful way, basically. So.
And at what point post-grad did you land an agent?
I signed with a manager right out of Fordham from the showcase. I'm no longer with that manager. As you know, careers go, you switch your manager, your agent. I also went to graduate school, so I went to NYU graduate school. So that was when I basically was like, well, I kind of don't need a manager right now, and then I had another one. But I got a manager right out of Fordham. He actually booked me, or well, I auditioned and we booked for each other, I suppose, a role on At Home with Amy Sedaris, which Cole was also on, literally in the same episode. We never met each other because we were in like totally different parts of the episode, but I know for a fact when I came into that audition room, then it was like, oh, you were on the same thing. So that's what I mean, I guess also about that non-linear nature. It's like, when I did that like 3 days on this TV show in, I think like 2018, it was probably a year after I graduated or something, I had never thought that would ever intersect with some like theater gig, or especially not some gig that's gonna eventually turn into a Broadway show. So it's like so random, all of these things. Or it feels random. It's actually not. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. It's like you are building these steps without even knowing it in your post-grad life all the time. So.
On the same track, what's a piece of advice you would give to current Fordham Theatre students, specifically about auditioning in New York City?
Well, I'll sort of cheat and not answer that question because what I'll say is the advice that or the thing that I did that I was most proud of, or I think was the most important in my life after Fordham, and I sort of alluded to this earlier, was just like the continuing to create your own work. And that's what Fordham does so well, is like the studio shows and like the relationships you're building with writers, with directors, with other actors. And so that's the most important thing, is to keep doing that. And with your friends out after school, you know, get Spaces at the Tank, book Alchemical, like whatever, like, I'm sure there's a million places in Brooklyn. I don't live in Brooklyn, so I don't know them as well. But like, do those, make your own work, make your own opportunities, invite those fancy people, you know, and then of course, yes, like audition for a Doritos commercial, of course, you know, I mean, like do that as well. But I guess what I always think is your auditions will be so much better if you're also working on your own stuff, because you're just keeping in practice of actually acting or creating. Because otherwise, if you're relying on other people to give you the means to create art, it's gonna get tight, you're gonna get tense, the opportunity is actually gonna be too important. And auditions, really, you need to have I'm sure everyone says this, like the thick skin to be able to do it, learn the 3 pages of The Equalizer, and then never think about it ever again, because otherwise you'll go insane. You know? That stick with it, I guess. I mean, like, it's just, I mean, it really is like an absolute dream come true to be in this play. And again, I've always loved comedy, and so to be in this super funny play and work again with all of these people, but someone like Cole, who I really think is like a true genius, and their play, like their writing skills and their acting skills. So I basically owe it all to them, and just, yeah.
Is there anything you want to say that I haven't asked about yet?
Well, I'll sort of repeat what I guess I already said, but again, like the thing that I loved so much about Fordham is, again, or what I think I grew so much with at Fordham was just the opportunity to act every single day, right? Like, in the professional world, that will never happen. So I guess like to all students out there now, currently at Fordham or looking at schools or whatever, that's what Fordham gives that is amazing, is you are constantly doing things, constantly doing new things. The amount of studio shows that they do at Fordham is incredible. Like that's, I know of kids who go to other schools and they maybe get to do like one show or something a year, and it gets, you know, or like, it's so, again, like, I'm literally living my dream, obsessed with this part, I'm doing it a long time, but in some ways I'm jealous of like the Fordham kids because they get to every single day you're doing something brand new, right? You're working on Streetcar, and then you're working on a play by a new writer, or like you're doing a studio show, then you're like assisting lighting on a main stage. Like it's so exhilarating. And come see Oh Mary extended through June 28th.